Well, seeing as it's 6 p.m., shall we? Yes? All right. I am going to call this meeting to order. And I was not here for this portion, but there was a closed session that was held on Friends of the Broadway Corridor versus City of Sonoma. Is there a report on the closed session?
The council held a closed session and we received direction, and there's no further updates at this time. Thank you.
And just to clarify, I'm recused from that item. That's why I was not present. And now, didn't just miss it. And now on to the regular meeting. Can I ask Dante to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Can we get a roll call?
Councilmember Cook.
Here.
Councilmember Hundley.
Here.
Vice Mayor Harvey.
Present.
Councilmember Agrimonti. Here. Mayor Harrington.
Present.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second. Roll call?
Councilmember Cook.
Aye.
Councilmember Hundley.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Harvey.
Yes.
Councilmember Agrimonti.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Great. And now on to public comment. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda. It is recommended that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Under state law, unless otherwise permitted under the Ralph M. Brown Act, the merits of the matters presented under this item cannot be discussed or acted upon by the City Council at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public will be invited to make comments at the time the item comes up for council consideration. Upon being acknowledged, please step to the podium and speak into the microphone and begin by stating and spelling your name and giving your address. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Laura Harvey. I live at 527 Mariano Drive in Sonoma, and I have a little thing to read. I'm here because if we only have a certain number of years to take action in order to prevent the death of our species and other species for years to come, that means we need to take action now. And that also means that we are currently living in a climate emergency. I am coming here out of hope that all of my city representatives take the risks of not taking action and the risks of not believing in climate change seriously enough to read the IPCC and to today declare a climate emergency in the city of Sonoma. We as a species need to do better than the Paris Agreement because a 2 degrees Celsius increase would not be a comfortable world to live in. We need to take action now to do the best we can, even though reaching a 2 degrees Celsius increase may be unavoidable. We, the city of Sonoma, in the face of our country doing little to nothing about climate change, need to do something. We need to show our country that we can't point fingers at China and ask them to change because we are reducing our carbon emissions more than the next 7 on the list when we send our manufacturing abroad to them, increasing their carbon emission. We need to show our country that we take responsibility for bringing 25% of the carbon footprint into the atmosphere of the world as a country. Please instate a climate emergency for Sonoma today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. Are there any other members of the public that would like to make a public comment? If the item's on the agenda, then you can talk about it at that time, but if it's not agendized, then you can talk about anything you like now.
Hi, George Thompson, 311 Nicole Lane, spelled George. I was going to kind of go on the tail of Linda's comments, which she hasn't made, but she sent this flyer out, gave this to our commission, And I don't know whether to speak for, I can't speak for the commission. I'll speak as a private citizen. I'm just gung-ho about this. This is a collaboration that Kathy Capriola, told me this was coming in a meeting that we had, and I'm very excited about the possibility that we're going to team up with other communities or models of other communities that have shown strategic art alliance for the city of Sonoma, possibly with the idea of exploring the possibility of creating a cultural plan for Sonoma Valley. This would probably be the direction. I know it's a long-term thing, but it's a compass point for us as a community. I'm very excited about this, and I think you might have all gotten this letter. It's teaming up with Mark from the Sonoma Valley Chamber of Commerce and John Gurney from Sonoma Community Center and Linda Keaton from the Sonoma Valley Museum of Art. So, as a commissioner for the culture and fine arts, I'm thrilled about it. And then as a private citizen, I'm thrilled about it. So I just got to be careful what I say here, because I don't want to say I represent everybody on my commission. But I represent me, George, and since I have a minute and 10 seconds left, I'll change the subject. Now I'm going to go to the farmer's market. I noticed that the guy with the cowbells isn't here anymore, Bill Darden, and I have a lot of questions about the farmer's market. I was on the farmer's market board when we first tried to get it to come to Tuesday night market, and I'm talking with the market farmers. I'm concerned that they're not doing so well at this market. I'd like to see it kind of re-envisioned, maybe if not this coming year, maybe the year after. It's become a big party. Maybe we should call it what it is, because it's not really serving the farmers. I think it's not serving the farmers for a lot of reasons. One might be because people go down there and eat out of the food trucks, or they just come down to see their friends, or it's too far to carry the groceries to the car because there's so much traffic. And I think it also hurts the businesses around the plaza. 210. Well, anyhow, that's kind of what I was wanting to say about the farmers market.
Thank you, George. Anyone else? Okay, with that, I will close public comment. And now on to meeting dedications. Chief Aker is here to say a few words to dedicate this meeting to the wildfires of 2 years ago. And so we'll start with that.
Thank you very much, Mayor Harrington. It's my privilege and honor to be here tonight to say a few words about the meeting dedication and what our community faced a couple of years ago. I will keep my comments brief, but 2 short years ago, our community faced by far its greatest challenge in over 50 years as wildfires threatened our beloved Sonoma Valley. Tragically, 2 lives were lost, hundreds of homes were destroyed, and countless lives were changed. Many of us still feel those effects from 2 years ago. However, through the determined efforts of countless community members, community organizations, and first responders, we survived. 2 years later, we continue to rebuild and recover as both individuals and as a community. We have worked hard and are now better prepared for emergencies. Many have taken scope training and learned how to prepare themselves and their families and their homes for future emergencies. We have worked with the county and now have improved alerting and warning systems in place. And we have increased defensible space programs and added emergency response resources. This important work is continuing and will be ongoing. And while we still see the scarred hillsides and work toward the continued rebuilding of both homes and lives that were changed, we have maintained the strength and togetherness that we exemplified as a community. Thankfully, the smoke is now gone, but the love in the air definitely remains. And with that, I just want to say that I know the next couple of days, for folks in the community that haven't yet seen, we are anticipating another very strong wind event over the next couple of days, including the potential for de-energization of our valley. I want folks to really pay attention and be as prepared as they can in case that event takes place. And I want you to rest assured that we are doing everything we can to be prepared and be able to respond to any emergencies during that time. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief Aker. And now if we could just have maybe a 1 minute of silence. All right. Are there any council members that would like to comment on this dedication or make a additional dedication for this meeting? No? Okay. Thank you so much. Now on to presentations. I'm going to turn it over to the city manager who will introduce some of our new staff members.
Thank you, Mayor Harrington, members of the council and community that are with us tonight. It's my pleasure to introduce some new members of our team. I'm going to start off, and when I announce your name, if you come up to the podium, that'd be great. I'm going to start off with Erica Jacobs. So Erica is Erica's our senior management analyst. This is a new position to work in the city manager's office and provide support to myself, supporting the issues of the council, to work as a project manager on projects and help drive things forward. So I really couldn't be more delighted to have Erica been on board about 2 months. She comes from the Seattle area and was 20 years work for King County and drove really complicated big capital improvement projects up there. So one of her projects was basically leading a master planning and design of a bicycle and pedestrian pathway that wove on a former railroad corridor. It went through multiple jurisdictions, geography issues, et cetera. It was a number of year project and very successful. And so she has got great community engagement, outreach, and knows how to both do contract work and then also really just to project manage things. So delighted to have Eric on board. She has a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Western Washington University and a Master's in Public Administration also from University of Washington. She lives in Petaluma now with her 2 sons and fiance, and she's happy to be here, and I'm really happy to have her here. Some of the projects that she's currently working on, just for council and community, is she is going to be the lead working on the Plaza Depot Park Casa Grande. So she's actively picked up the Casa Grande parking lot, working with state staff to look at how we can lease and get control of the Casa Grande parking lot. And then also we'll be working with Councilmember Hundley on the subcommittee to look at Depot Park and Plaza improvements. And then she's also taking the lead on some of our building renovations that we have going on at Carnegie, the Haven, and the Corporation Yard. And so any of those kind of miscellaneous projects, we have a number of things, from bike paths to not bike paths, bike parking, a variety of other things, the new trash cans, all those little items will kind of be under her bailiwick too. So she can be working with Public Works. So Erica Jacobs, and welcome. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And then Ryan Kadamo. Ryan is not with us today, but Ryan has been an accounting technician with us for the past about 18 months, and he just went through a competitive process and was selected to be our new accountant. So I know council's had some interaction with Ryan, and he is calm, capable, diligent, and really does a great job, and has had experience updating, improving our payroll and accounts payable, putting together a dashboard for our TOT, and done a variety of special projects. So he was raised in Marin County and then got his Bachelor of Arts degree from USC, and was down there for quite some time, and just came back up in this direction and lives in Nevada with his family. And it's just a delight to have him on board as well. And the last introduction for today is Christina Tierney, if Christina would come up. So Christina comes to us. She has been, she's a land use and environmental planner with about 15 years of experience and 10 years working for Marin County. She definitely has got some CEQA expertise and has worked on some large infrastructure projects throughout California. So we were lucky enough to bring Christina on board with some of our planning staff transition as some extra help about a year ago. And Christina just went through a competitive process, also was selected. And she's worked on some projects recently, the Mockingbird Lane, Sonoma Garden Park, and also just did that rounding error ordinance that you all will be doing second reading on. So she was born and raised in Sonoma, went to Sonoma Valley High, go Dragons, went to UC Berkeley and has a bachelor's in environmental science and management, and also has a master's. So she's a bachelor's in environmental science, and then at UC Santa Barbara has a master's in environmental science and management. And she and her husband returned to Sonoma in 2007, and she's got 3 kids, and she's thrilled not to be driving to Highway 37, and I understand that. So just really pleased with the kind of the capability and talent that Christina brings, and overall just the team that we've been bringing on board, and the depth and expertise that will allow us to continue to do good work for this town. So thank you very much, Christina. And we'll have some more folks in the next month or so, but that's it for tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome to you both. It's exciting to see our staff filled out with such talented people. It's great. Okay, and with that, I will move on to the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the council, staff, or public request specific items to be removed for separate action. At this time, council may decide to change the order of the agenda. Are there any council members that would like to pull an item? No? Take it out to the public. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on one of these items? Seeing none, I will close public comment and bring it back for a discussion or a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Cook.
Aye.
Councilmember Hundley.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Harvey.
Yes.
Councilmember Agrimonti. Aye. Mayor Harrington.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Great. And now on to item 6. Report to the City Council on the 2019 Summer Recreation Program servicing the teen community. And I will turn it over to the City Manager and our Special Events Manager, Lisa Jansen.
Great. So Council, this is an exciting night to come back and talk about a variety of recreation programs. Back in May, I think, of last year, and we'll talk more about, but we have in our recreation program, we have some discretionary funds, and there was about $20,000 of funding that had not been spent. And the idea was brought forward, I believe at that point by Mayor Harrington, maybe look at doing some special summer recreation. Council had a conversation about it, and we put together a program. Lisa Jansen, worked together and with collaboratively and kind of with some of our rec sponsors and put together a program where we enhanced our summer recreation, focusing on some teens. So I'll turn it to Lisa to describe the programs, and there are reports attached for your review as well. Again, the action tonight really is a report out. If there's any questions you have, and I'll turn it to Lisa.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So as part of this program, we chose 3 recreation providers. The first one was the Boys and Girls Club of Sonoma Valley. They have a pretty robust summer program already in place, and the funding that was used or was provided to them, they actually used it as additional scholarship and enhancements to their existing program. Their programs range from robotics and food to college campus tours and other fun activities that were really catered to the teens and the freshman and sophomore grades. They serviced or ended up giving funding to about 59 individuals that participated in the scholarship program. And like I said, it was more of just an enhancement of being able to provide the buses to the different campuses that they visited and the additional scholarships. The community center was our second partner. The community center took the funding in a little different direction. They actually created a teen and leadership program that focused on building leadership skills, authentic speaking, photography. Trying to think what some of the other items were. Multimedia use and one other thing. Sorry. Yes, advocacy writing with City Council, and I think the Mayor Harrington actually went and presented a whole discussion about civic leadership as part of that program. That is a very new, very creative program. They really wanted 25 students. They got 15 to participate in its first year. I think there's some desire to maybe move forward with something similar for next year, and they were extremely appreciative of the funds that they received and the ability to put something really creative together to serve our teens. The last program was with Philip Monroy, who is Sonoma Valley Tennis Association instructor. He's one of the lead instructors, and he provides tennis clinics and services there at the tennis courts at Maxwell Village. And he actually put together two-week sessions geared towards teens in junior high and teens in high school. They served about 16 individuals, and they focused on everything from basic serving skills and volleying and to actual, like the introduction of tennis and how to keep score and all of those wonderful things. So just really opening up an opportunity for something that would normally be prohibitive because of the costs associated with it. It gave the opportunity to teens in our community to participate in a new sport and be introduced to it. So those were the three entities that we worked with this year, and their reports are attached. And if you have any questions.
The only thing I would just add just to Lisa's, I think that this kind of illustrates council's ability to and the city's ability to move quickly and also beta test some things, working with partners. So, I think that's one of the nice things about the size we can try things, we can see how it works. So anyway, I want to thank Lisa and our three partners for their good work on this, and happy to turn it back to council.
Are there any council questions?
I do have a question. I see that it is the Boys and Girls Club, the club, which I think is amazing. And that's basically where these programs were, with the club, or for younger children? I couldn't.
So they actually, because these services reached higher than the elementary school programs that you typically would get at the club, teen services provide the opportunity for individuals to actually apply for scholarships as well for their programs. So it wasn't just the Boys and Girls Club, it was the teen services part of it as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I will take it out to the public. Are there any members of the public that want to comment on this item? Seeing none, I will close public comment and bring it back for council discussion. And I just wanted to say my daughter, Julia, who is an 8th grader now, attended the community center program. It was amazing. They learned how to write a letter to the editor, a letter to the city council. I think they did one more, but real life skills. The teachers they had teaching it were really just, the sessions I sat in were very high quality, and I was so impressed. I'm sure the other ones were also impressive. I just didn't see them. But on this one in particular, I thought it was really valuable. And the cost for a 2-week program, 3 days a week, was $45. There was all kinds of different kids in there. It was like the kids were motivated to be there. They liked it. They made friends. And also the instructors were so good. So the feedback on this program in particular, just because I know about it, it was really cool. It was awesome. And that was an age group where there was I feel like there's missing activities for that group, a kind of late middle school group. And it was really nice to see the kids so engaged. And anyway, I could give a million examples of some of the things I saw there, but I just thought that was something great that we did this summer. So, other comments?
Yeah, I think it's a great thing that we're doing for the town. I know growing up here, it's can get a little boring, especially once you hit, about 13. And, we just started hiking in the woods, in the place where we're supposed to be. So it's good to have some other options, learn some skills and things like that. So, yeah, wonderful program, and I'm glad we're doing it. It's great.
Anyone else? No? And I think we're just receiving a report, so there's no action item on this item. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now on to item 6.2, consideration, discussion, and possible action for use of unallocated funding within the city's Recreation Community Services Program for fiscal year 1920. And I will turn it over to our city manager.
Great. Mayor Harrington, members of the council and community. So the city of Sonoma has, for over 20 plus years, been a longtime supporter of recreation community services. But frankly, a lot of times it was fairly hidden. And it wasn't packaged in a way that I think the community understood what the city's contribution was. And we do have a very unique model here where we have these nonprofits and a number of amazing nonprofits that run facilities, run programs, and a lot of places a city might run a senior center, you might run an arts center, you might run a teen center, both the facilities and all the programming. You run all the athletic programs of the Boys and Girls Club. That's not our model. Things are unique here in the Valley, and so we have these great partners. So what occurred in 17-18 is we had a lot of conversations with Counsel, and Counsel agreed to kind of go a different direction, which was kind of package these into a Recreation Community Services program to be able to highlight them. And then also we moved to doing contracts with kind of our core recreation providers. So in March 2018, we kind of put together these 3-year contracts, which the 3 years will be concluding in June 2020. And those were with Sonoma Community Center, Sonoma Ecology Center, the Sonoma Valley Boys and Girls Club, and Vintage House. And then this last year, the council added to one of your core recreation providers, the Sonoma Valley Field of Dreams, with a contribution, a 1-year contract with them to line them up with everyone else to recognize the work that they do to maintain all those practice and play fields on behalf of the community. Again, another nonprofit that does that. So council knows the way that this funding is, we take 1.5% of our designated general fund tax revenue. There's kind of some specifics listed in the program of what we do. And then that money, that 1.5%, basically gets put in 2 buckets. One bucket we use for our core recreation programs, and the other is set as what we call council discretionary, and it's set aside, and that's 10%. So the council has some ability to do some things for recreation and community services, and it may come up through the year that you don't know about. So in November 2017, we went to the voters, and the voters approved an increase in our transient occupancy tax, which then increased that general fund money that's available. So when we talked about this in budget in June, the council said, let's have a conversation, because the reality of what this is there's about 26,000 of unallocated core funding available, and then there still is about 24,000 of the 10% non-designated that sits there as well. So roughly $50,000 that are not allocated do not have to be allocated at this time, but the council did want to have a conversation about it and asked for us to bring this back in the fall, and that's the purpose of the meeting. So just a few thoughts. Again, as staff, I'm not asking the council to make decisions tonight. You might want to hear from folks, have some preliminary conversations. Maybe you want to have staff pull some folks together and have some additional meetings and come back. This is money for the budget year that goes through June. There may be maybe there's some things you want to look at like right now because you think you want to tee some of that up, but then you want to kind of wait on the rest. So all those options are in your realm. In the staff report, I did lay out like 4 or 5 things that I've heard of from folks that are in process that could fit in this bucket. This by no means is a comprehensive list. It's just some conversations that have occurred. As council knows, we've worked with Sonoma Valley Museum of Art to do our temporary public art for 2 years. This summer, we kind of took the summer off, but the conversations I've had with Linda Keaton is they are very interested in wanting to continue that program. Part of the cost of doing that is putting down those plates and renting the plates for 4 months, every 4 or 5 months every time. And one option would be, if we really are going to do this going forward, would be to put some concrete down, make some permanent locations for temporary art, and then when the art's not there, maybe put a picnic table on top or a bench. So there's some ways to still make that process work. That would be some one-time investment that would then make that process, that program that we've been working with, more sustainable going forward. So that's just one idea. You heard from George Thompson talking about the Sonoma Valley Art Coalition, which is being looked at being started by the Chamber, the Art Museum, and the Community Center, and their desire to create some kind of really what would be an art strategic plan, or what's called a cultural master plan. You've directed us to work with Karen Collins to do some recreation research. We have not had a chance to meet yet. We've got that scheduled, and I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but maybe there's something there. We could come back. Vintage House has just done kind of a study, not a comprehensive study as I understand, but they've done a study looking at some needs of seniors. We did talk about that we would bring that back to council at some point. And then one option, a conversation I've had with our current recreation providers is just the need to have maybe a transportation system to move kids around. There are programs, but not every kid can get to things. And is there a way to share buses or look at some cooperative way to get youth from school to some of these different areas? By no means a comprehensive list, but those are some conversations that I just wanted to kind of lay out in front of you as well. So with that, I'll be happy to turn it back to council for any questions and then hear from the community.
Are there any council questions? No. I will open up public comment on this item.
Linda Keaton, 551 Broadway. Mayor Harrington and Council, I'd like to speak on behalf of Sonoma Valley Museum of Art and also a coalition that started some discussions on a cultural plan. The city and SVMA has partnered for 3 public art projects, as Kathy spoke about. The first was in 2017. Albert Paley, we brought his sculpture out and we placed it in various locations, in front of the community center, in front of SVMA, the museum, in Depot Park, and in the plaza as well. And then in the summer of 2018, we brought California women sculptors here with the Deere and Wolf Rider and several other wonderful sculptures. And then in the fall last year, we brought Laura Kimpton's Love sculpture as part of, and that became a centerpiece as part of the celebration, the commemoration of the 1-year anniversary of the fires. As part of our partnership with the city has waived some fees associated with installation and deinstallation, and also helped out with some of the signage costs as well, because these were required by the city. And it would be great if we could also consider, as Kathy mentioned, some support to make these projects more permanent projects for temporary art. The other project that I want to just briefly talk about is the movement that started, discussions that have started about a cultural art master plan for Sonoma Valley. This grew out of the work that we did. When I say we, the museum, the chamber, the community center, and the city putting together the Sonoma Art Walk. And we started talking about other ways that we might collaborate, and cultural art master plan was one of the ways that we think we can come together as a community. The purpose of this would be to strengthen and coordinate existing arts programming in Sonoma, to enhance the appreciation and availability of art in the community, and to promote art education. And this is not just visual arts. We're talking about performing arts. We're talking about more awareness about the Sonoma International Film Festival, about what Transcendus is doing, what Plein Air is doing. We've talked about maybe considering what a chalk festival would look like, and maybe a summer music series as well. So again, this is in its very early stages. We're hope to do assessments, and we feel that this would be a good fit. We know that this has been a successful tool used all over the U.S. Loveland, Colorado, and Park City are 2 shining examples of cultural arts master plans. And also Healdsburg has begun that process. Napa Valley has a cultural arts master plan, and Marin has a cultural arts master plan as well. The county has a master plan, and we've already spoken with people there and with Marin about how we might dovetail into that. So we're pretty excited about this, and we would love some support to kind of kickstart the process.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay, with that, I will close public comment and bring it back to council for discussion. Is there someone who'd like to start? Councilmember Hundley?
I have a question first. So this sort of cultural and arts master plan, like, so what does that look like? I don't know if Linda would be better to describe it, or just wondering, like, what does it
If
look
council's
like?
pleasure, do you want to invite
Sure.
Ms. Keaton come back up? Thank you.
Cultural art master plans are very long-term projects. They start out usually with an assessment, finding out if this is something that the community wants. There's a tremendous amount of community input, buy-in, hopefully, to this whole process. And then after an assessment period, if there was a desire to move forward with this, we would start looking for cultural art master planners, consultants that would help us with the process, because again, there are lots of public meetings that have to be held, and it's nice to have somebody that's neutral and that's gone through this. There are lots of professional art master planners, but again, it's something that would bring in businesses, it would bring in the city, it would bring in the arts organizations. It would just be a very, very comprehensive process and comprehensive plan. And this is something that Mark Bodenhammer and John Gurney, myself, and several others have been talking about, other community members have been talking about for a while. And to me, this is a natural. Sonoma is known for being a wine destination, and I think art and wine are such a natural thing to go together. I look at what's gone on in Carmel. That was an art destination, and it's become an art and wine destination, and I believe that that's something that maybe we could consider happening here. We know that art tourists stay 3 times as long as wine tourists, and we also know that they spend 2 to 3 times as much in a city as wine tourists. So we think that this combination would be beneficial for businesses. We also think that it would be beneficial for the citizens because it would enhance the quality of life tremendously.
Are there other questions? Comments? I'm sorry.
Comments.
Comment? Councilmember Hundley.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I think it's kind of exciting to end up having this extra money in this fund. And it seems to me like it is an opportunity. Well, I could see both sides of unexpected money being able to be invested into sort of long-term projects that aren't a part of what we always spend the money on. So that part is interesting. This art plan, I think, is fascinating. I just think it would be great for a lot of many reasons, economic and sort of quality of life. And I hear that Sonoma used to be a huge city of artists, and they all got kind of pushed underground, but I think they're still there. So that's kind of where I think that I would like to consider investing. It's something that, that's going to help future years. That being said, it also could be an opportunity for sort of one-time things. Like, it's either got to be a long-term investment or like sort of like a specifically one-off thing, because it's not going to be something that's going to be repeated next year. But so one of the things that I was thinking about, which it might be that the money could come from the other fund, but one of the things that I've heard recently in the community is that, for example, Sasserini is short of instruments for their students and their lower income students. They've sort of maxed them out, and for a relatively low investment for what we have, it could be nice to have like a little infusion for like a elementary school sort of music program or investment, and that would be sort of a one-time thing. I don't really know what the details would look like, and then maybe with the other elementary schools, we could get the county to match us or something, because I don't think it would even require, probably less than $5,000. So I would sort of, in conjunction with this long-term view, with the short-term, I think that performing arts, and particularly music, is something that I think would be nice to put something into. So I'm curious to see what other people have to say.
Councilmember Cook?
Well, I think it's a great program. I like all the above or all the below. I do like what Karen Collins is trying to do with the Parks and Recreation. I think it's very important. I like to hear about the art and all that coming to Sonoma. So I am looking forward to this coming back to the council, but I think it's great to let our public know what we're doing. One thing that I would say that I'd really like to see, I know a lot of cities do this, where they do a little bit of matching funds on certain projects, and this could be a great beta test way of hopefully what we reported on earlier on the agenda with what we spent money on last year. Hopefully some of those things will continue, and this is a way, kind of a catalyst for us to do things. So I do like the study also. So I would say I like all these, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Great. Councilmember Agrimonti?
Yeah, my hope would be that we add, what was it, wine and our tourists. We have a rich history here, and I would like to be able to make, like Charleston, the connection with this program with the history of Sonoma to help, as Emerald Lagasse used to say, kick it up a notch, because I think there are so many things to see here that are beautiful, and I think we take it for granted sometimes. So I just want people to know that there's other things that they can come do, and it's such a beautiful place. Even our vineyards are historical, so I would hope that that could fit into this program as well. I like the idea. I wish we could get those deer back, though.
Councilmember Harvey?
Yeah, I agree with Madeline. I think it would be interesting to see if we could explore. I mean, we just made the Sonoma Historical Society our city historian, and kind of see if we had talked about maybe doing some programs with them and some of the students and the schools around here to kind of talk about that. I think it would be really interesting to kind of delve into the history. I like the idea of the temporary public art, because for me that's kind of a twofer. If we get more benches in the plaza certain days, and then we're also getting a more solid place where the art's going to be placed, it's going to reduce some of the wear and tear on the plaza. So I see that as a good benefit. Supporting after school programs is always super huge. I mean, like David, I like every single thing that's on here. I'm sure like everybody, I like everything that's on here. Interesting note about Sasserini. If there's one-time things, I don't know, I would love to be able to support something like that. If there's just a sudden need from a school, I would love for there to be some sort of channel that those things can come forward, so that we can be aware of issues in our community and take care of them. A little bit worried about it being kind of like, okay, we helped that school, but then this school needs this, and that could quickly become kind of an out-of-hand situation. But obviously supporting music in school would be something that would be great. I think we just need to take more time, look at what we've got, and make a good decision. I think the next time this comes to council, I would like to know kind of the general idea of like a cost for each one of these. So if there's a possibility to do 2, that would be kind of cool to know. We don't have a ton of money, but yeah.
Thanks. And I'm fine with not spending the money this year. And it seems like we have a lot of things in the works that may result in funding requests in the future. And I think we might want to let those play out a little bit more in terms of, and I'd like to hear more, whatever Karen Collins group comes back, or a little bit more development on the the cultural master plan, a little, like a little bit more meat to it, so we understand what it might be. But I support those things broadly. I think we may, and I talked to the city manager about this today, have some opportunity to make an impact with the money. There's things in terms of recreation, like improving the playground on the plaza. They're used by so many children. That would be a direct impact. $50,000 would really go a long ways towards that, in conjunction with the work that Councilmember Hundley is doing on the Depot Park and Plaza plan. Or, are there improvements to the amphitheater that could be made that would allow us to use it more and have like a summer concert series? So I sort of think either we roll the money over till next year, or figure out what are the project ideally, I think it would be one project where we could use $50,000 and really let the community see what the impact is immediately, something that's very clear what the money was spent on. Third project, if we're just listing projects that I think would be incredible, if we spent $50,000 planting trees on the west side, starting at 7-Eleven in town, that would have a dramatic impact. That would, over time, really increase the walkability of the town. So that's something we could do with that amount of money that I think would really change the landscape of Sonoma dramatically. And I don't know how much trees cost, but you could probably get a lot of them for $50,000. So those are my thoughts. In terms of process moving forward, how do you want to do that?
Well, I think my thought is there some of this are ideas that need to be kind of tightened down. I do tend to meet quarterly. Sometimes it goes a little longer with our current rec providers. And so I think it might also be interesting to do a few little sub meetings to kind of put some more meat on some of these bones and then bring some ideas forward. Some of this might not kind of come back to you potentially until January, but I think there's some pre-conversations we could have and then maybe bring back a kind of a proposal that you could consider.
When do we normally have a mid-year budget?
A mid-year budget typically is February.
Oh, okay.
Because we don't get all of our revenue until the end of we don't know until December, early January.
I wouldn't mind this conversation being tied with mid-year budget myself. I don't know how anyone else feels about that, but it seems like.
I agree.
Okay.
I think that it would make sense around then, but I think we'd want to talk about it before it comes to mid-year budget, because that's when the money would be adjusted, and we'd have to know what the adjustment would be.
So maybe January, talk about it, and then
Could
February.
be January and then bring in mid-year in February.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that makes sense. Great, thank you very much. Exciting.
Thank you.
Item 6.3, consideration, discussion, and possible action regarding the city's position on proposed 2019 League of California Cities Annual Conference resolutions. City Clerk.
Mayor and Council, next week some of you will be attending the League's annual conference in Long Beach, which is being held October 16th through the 18th. And at that time, at the business meeting, they'll be considering 2 resolutions this year. And for tonight, we're asking that we talk about what the different resolutions and the ideas that you just give Councilmember Agrimonti direction on the 2 resolutions. The first resolution is in response to the fire season and the high hazards. And it's asking the League to call upon the CPUC to amend Rule 20A program. And it expands the criteria for undergrounding the overhead utilities. And then also the second one is calling on the League to work with the state and federal governments to restore and ensure proper funding for the U.S.-Mexican border water infrastructure program, which is what it does is it really addresses the water quality problems that are arising due to the transboundary flow of the Tijuana River. It flows into the states and it's not untreated, it contains garbage. And so those are the 2 resolutions that are going to be before the General Assembly at the conference next week.
Are there any council questions? Seeing none, I will take it out to the public. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment? Seeing none, I will close public comment and bring it back to the council for discussion. Councilmember Hundley?
I would be happy to support both of these in directing our colleague, Suchley.
Do we have a motion on that?
I would like to make a motion to direct. What is our end goal here?
Would be to direct Councilmember Agrimonti as your voting delegate at the General Assembly to support both resolutions.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Cook,
Aye.
Councilmember Hundley,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Harvey,
Yes.
Councilmember Agrimonti, Mayor Harrington.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great. And with that, council member reports and comments.
Madam Mayor. I have a report from our last meeting for the Fare Free program. And the good news is, I passed it out, I have for city clerk, our city manager, and also senior systems analyst, and all council members. In the month of September, we have reached a 98.39% of riders for the bus fare free bus, and it's really going well. And it's going so well. There, as our city manager knows, we're looking at electrical vehicles. I forget the town that got the one electrical vehicle, so they have the first. But why not Sonoma? And that's exactly what this does, and I think a lot of people are taking advantage. And as you look through this paperwork, the second page shows the different amounts of kids, adults, disabled people, all of that. So it's really a wonderful report, and working with Brian Albee has been wonderful. The people, I think the next step of the board, this group has said they'd like possibly the chamber now to connect the buses to events so that people can actually get to different events similar to the Tuesday night market. So they are looking to the chamber to help with some kind of a public outreach for that. And there are some wonderful things. I'm so pleased. Kids seem to be, the young people seem to really enjoy doing this. And we can't fit every program that's out there, but we certainly are. I think they're doing a wonderful job. And as I've said about Brian Albee, he's a bureaucrat that's the least bureaucrat person I've ever met, because he just says, yeah, I'll see if I can do that. And so it's working really well. So the one thing I'm looking for then will be funding from a private citizen to help pay for the charging station wherever it may end up being. Because we went from this big amount, that plate, I think, Kathy, if you might share that with everyone. I'm sure you do a better job of a bus sitting on a plate that conducts electricity versus a charging station, and now finding a location for it.
Yeah, so there's two projects that Sonoma County Transit wants to talk to the city about, kind of going forward. One is a kind of a new, kind of, what do you call it, shelter, there on the plaza, and then they're replacing all of those. And they're really flexible about kind of how that would look for us and understand the historic nature. And then also they want to move to electric buses. The first vision was there would be some kind of a plate that the bus could stand on and would charge while they were waiting. That piece may not be as feasible, so the other option is some kind of a plug-in or something. So those are details that, again, Erica, she is working on the plaza, will be the point person working with Mr. Albee with Sonoma County Transit. So, there's some vision, there's a lot of logistics and things to figure out here, but those are some other projects that we have in the works with our partnership with them, but they truly have been a great partner to date.
Councilmember Cook?
Well, I want to thank Mayor Harrington for allowing me to go to Sonoma Clean Power. If you want to see a government institution that is doing a great job, check out the Sonoma Clean Power website. Just talking about the future of energy and understanding that we have done such a great job with solar and a lot of clean energy that it is causing a little bit of issue of when demand services for, having alternate energies being burned like fossil fuels, in the evening when the sun does go down. And just the discussion really turned, great when you look at these power shutoffs and you start talking about using generators. Most generators, as we know, run on fossil fuels, but seeing that there's other battery packs that can be utilized. And this is something that I just urge the public to look at, especially because I think we're entering into one on Wednesday, it looks like, that you have to think kind of outside of the box sometimes about power supplies. So I think that Sonoma Clean Power is doing a great job, and thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
I know that institution is just wonderful, and hopefully we can get microgrids going throughout, and we don't have to worry about a lot of this in the near future. And solar is here to stay, and hopefully we can find a lot more storage. So one thing that we were told to bring back to our cities is one of the new energies is storage, meaning that just don't think about battery packs and stuff, but look at mechanized turbines that can be wound up, and hydro, and just different things out there. So the future is limitless when it comes to energy.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? And next will be the city manager's announcements. And Kathy, are you going to make an announcement about the PSP?
Well, at this point, I will tell you what we know. So what we know right now is what PG&E is communicating. There are about 19 counties that PG&E is looking at de-energization. So the map on their website is fairly broad, so.
And I assume that everyone knows what de-energization means, but just in case.
Yes, thank you. So with the both our fires and the Paradise fires, PG&E has put in a program called the Public Safety Power Shutoff, or de-energization. And what that basically means is, in advance of weather conditions that they think are potentially threatening to fires, where potentially maybe some of their wires could be impacted with winds and or trees, etc., and cause a fire, they will de-energize the grid, which means they're going to take down the electricity and shut things off. The issue when this public safety power shutoff occurs is it will get shut off sometime before the event. It'll be shut off for the event, and sometimes that's a one-day event. Typically it's wind, temperature, humidity. Sometimes it could be a two-day event. And then depending on how much of their geography and area that they have taken down will mean how long it's going to take them to bring things back up. So they've done this recently up in kind of the Gold Country and down by actually by Paradise and Butte County over the last weekend, and they were able, it was a fairly small area, fairly contained, and the energy was able to be turned back on pretty quickly within a day. But if it is a much larger area, their ability, because they've got to check every line, and it may be a longer time period, anywhere from 3 to 5 days. So as of this morning, we got noticed of another potential public safety power shutoff. This will potentially happen Wednesday morning, early morning, 4 a.m., 5 a.m., go through Wednesday evening. And again, the area that is being considered right now is 19 counties. Again, what we know so far is, having gone through one of these journeys about 2 weeks ago, it got narrower as they got more information and as the event got closer. That may or may not happen. Again, they may have, based on wind and temperature, and they may take down those areas. They may also take down transmission lines, so those determinations have not been made or communicated back out to cities at this point. So the county is actively putting up information, so it was Napa and Marin County and those other counties that are impacted, and we will be putting information out tomorrow. If this does look like tomorrow morning that we are still kind of included, then we'll be getting our EOC ready. Again, we have generators in place. We've retained the generators from the last location. There's a generator on site at the Vets Memorial Center for potentially a cooling and or place to power up. And we'll work with the county if there's a need there. So at this point, we don't know, but this is the new normal, and folks need to be ready, and then we will respond as we need.
Great, thank you. Any other announcements?
May I ask a question? With respect to the vet center, all of that, the transfer switch and upgrading happened, or?
Yes, so the transfer switch was fixed and upgraded. So the transfer switch and the generator is in place. It will run the 2 large rooms. Some of the side rooms it will not operate, but it will operate both HVAC and electricity for the 2 main rooms. And the county is staffed ready to do that. Typically they would use some help from PG&E, but they also have backup plans if that's not available.
Great, thank you. All right, our city attorney is not here this evening, so there's no city attorney comments. And now we will adjourn to a closed session regarding conference with labor negotiators. Thank you.